Kind of
It's got
weird.
confused.
It
Uh,
did get confused. And we're live. Welcome.
ah, cool. Hello.
Yes, all the person in the chat. Oh, wait, that's just you and me, Jenson.
Yeah, pretty much. No, there is a third. There is an. Oh my god, there's another person. Hello, other person.
That'll be MC.
welcome. I have decided to do a stream because I have some commentary and some questioning for you guys.
Okay.
Right?
And I'm
And you
here because
guys
I'm on
especially
community service.
because you guys are the British. Hey
Oh, it's
Jacob.
Jacob.
Mhm.
All right. And there's several things that have been happening in America lately that you well know. But one of the things that, of course, everyone keeps getting riled about is skin color, skin color, skin color. Right.
Mhm.
So I was listening to somebody talk about John Brown. Do you know who John Brown is?
Oh yes. I also know about the song.
Yeah, isn't he the guy who's like?
Morgan in the cave. Yeah.
Yeah, well, his body is.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, he of course
His name was John. He was brown.
was used violence to justify, or to attempt to rectify, I guess, slavery. He was going
Yes.
to use violence to cleanse slavery from the United States.
Mhm.
Okay.
I bet now you wish that they'd rounded up all of the slaves and shipped them all back to Africa, don't you?
I don't care. That has nothing to do with it.
That would be a good idea, though. In all fairness, it would stop a lot of their
They
arguments.
wouldn't have survived.
That's also the bonus.
Well, okay. First of all, when American slavery, I dropped something. I'm trying to pick it up. When American slavery, when slaves came to America, right?
Mhm.
They were all named Toby.
They were not all named
Yeah.
Toby, and what's more is you had people that were
Couldn't
white
they?
as well that were under sentenced to slavery.
Mhm.
It isn't until Nate Turner's rebellion, right?
Was it what
Where
Turner?
yeah, Nate Turner.
Yeah, we literally don't know who that is, mate. Sorry.
Okay,
He was a slave who rebelled.
yeah, he was.
Okay.
All right, and
Oh,
but
And
right.
it's actually one of the very few things that was historically accurate in Roots.
Oh,
he
wow.
did rebel, and he then went on a killing spree. And the
Mhm.
killing
And then,
spree, he killed approximately 60 people in 4 days.
yeah, and then Chicken George found his body.
All right, some of whom were small children, like
Yeah,
toddlers
Wow.
and so forth.
he was driven to so much hatred of the people who had him as a slave.
Well, he
Mhm.
was brutalized. There's no doubt about that. All right, and he did take that hatred out to the extreme, right?
Yep.
And I'm not
Yep.
I'm not I'm not trying to justify anything one way or the other with this, right? I'm just trying to point out though that it went so far that he couldn't differentiate between a toddler and an actual, you know, murdering
Yeah,
savage slave owner,
Yeah.
right? And the resulting of that, the result of that, and the Bacon Rebellion, by the way, was whites were basically freed, all right, while blacks
Okay.
remained in slavery, all right. And
Okay.
the reason for that, okay, was very simple: to divide and conquer. Okay,
mm.
the reason blacks remained as slaves wasn't because of the color of their skin as much as the fact that they outnumbered the number of whites.
Mhm.
Okay,
So it was the other way around.
And of course,
Oh, you're on about the antebellum South, aren't
the
you?
aspect
Mhm.
of race in that the slave owners at the time were basically white, so it gave them a way of saying, okay, we're going to put you on a different level so that you don't do this, but also from the fact that it's easy to identify who the slave is, right? And this is
Yeah.
mainly in Virginia, by the way, so you understand where all this comes down
Yep.
from.
Because I understand when there was slaves could be freed, but there was some American states or maybe just counties that had their own bylaws that if a free slave remained in their borders for longer than X amount of days, they ended up becoming a slave again.
Well, that stuff that comes into effect later. To be honest, that wasn't really the effect at this point in time.
Okay.
And and obviously these are not states yet, so this stuff
Yeah.
isn't really codified anymore. All right. But John Brown then said, okay, well, you have a successful slave rebellion, one of the few successful slave rebellions in history take place, and that's in Haiti.
But was Ben Franklin also an abolitionist?
Huh?
Ben Franklin, the guy with the kite.
Uh,
I think he knows who Franklin is.
with Ben Franklin, to be honest, was he an abolitionist? I don't think he believed in slavery, but at the same time, I don't believe he believed in abolition necessarily. It's hard to say because he was a pragmatist. All right.
He's also a bit of a bastard, from what I hear.
Mm-hmm. I've
But
heard
then
that as well.
again, to succeed in the field of politics, especially back then, nice guy didn't cut it.
Well, he
Fair.
wasn't. All right. When they talk about
You know
him
what I mean by nice
being
guy.
a jerk,
Mhm.
all right, it isn't toward other people. Aside from his family, he was more of a jerk to his family than he was to anybody else.
I like
Benjamin
him even
Franklin was
more.
a very affable man. Right? People all over adored the guy. But at the same time, if when his son went against him during the revolution, he basically, you know,
Booted him out of the family?
persona non grata him.
Yeah, booted him out of the family.
You know,
Mhm.
well, it was beyond that. It's an interesting
Oh,
dynamic.
God.
And
Now
his
I've just got
son,
this image of Jackie Gleason as Ben Franklin. You know, when we get home, son, I'm going to thump your mama in the mouth.
yeah, no, it wasn't anything like that. He was very deferential to
You
his
get,
wife.
yeah, you know
Right.
what I'm doing.
But at the same time, I mean, there's stories about how his dalliances and whether or not he was sleeping around and all sorts of things, right? We don't know how accurate any of that was, and because
Don't care either.
well, it's we know it has to happen to an extent because some of the
Yeah.
people are bastard children that he claims, but to what extent we don't know. Okay. I mean,
Now, why
in
is
that
your
time
Discord
frame,
covering
to
this?
be honest, in that time, people forget this. In that time frame, there was an excess number of women because men tended to die early.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so there were a lot of wives that end up marrying a guy who are much older than who their husbands are, simply because they're eligible and so forth, and they're looking to, you know, continue their line and have a husband because women at that time didn't had very little property rights and stuff in to a large extent. But my point here was, at what point do you think John Brown was justified in using violence to attempt to create a slave rebellion?
I'm going to give this one to you, Batman. Enjoy this one.
He wasn't. He should have known his place and just got on with his work. Now,
Wait, pause. MC. RPR's joined and he's grey. Do you want to give him the wrench?
I was on my way.
Okay.
I was
Oh,
rectifying the situation.
who's RPR?
He's literally a Welsh guy. He's actually really cool. He's dude, you know.
Aside from making jokes, I've got nothing against the Welsh. And MC, I've DM'd you my current avatar.
Oh yes, of course,
Okay.
he's changed.
Well, I will rectify
Take your
that
time.
at a later date. You're still going to remain Batman for the day.
Yeah.
And so my point here is when you see that you have you have what is essentially a successful slave rebellion in Haiti.
Yes.
Yeah, people say that was the first time that slavery was abolished in the Western world. It wasn't, because they kicked the French out, but they didn't end slavery in Haiti. What they did was they kept most of the people who were slaves in Haiti after that rebellion stayed as slaves. They just changed for white masters for black masters, or should I say French masters for black masters.
Can I just make a minor point here?
Mm-hmm.
Technically, if you're actually looking at the first air quotes Western slave revolt, you actually want to go back to the Jew. Well, no, the Jews against the Egyptians.
That wasn't Western. That was Middle Eastern.
That's an arguable point because if you
first of all, you have to that was you can say that was a slave rebellion, I guess, if you consider the Jews as slaves.
Well, let's be honest, the Egyptians did.
They
Funny thing is,
the thing is
there is
people forget this.
Hold on a minute. There is apparently evidence to back this up as well, but there's a lot of historians reckon that that's where the Jews originated, because Nattering, or how we pronounce his name, he created a monotheistic religion in Egypt, right? And it literally beggared the country, so much so that there was a revolt. They got rid of him, which is where Ramesses II came in. Yeah, Ramesses the Great.
Yep.
And everybody who was who worshipped this monotheistic god Aten, they were thrown into slavery. Now it's hypothesized that these were the actual ancestors of the Jews.
I think that's a bit of a misnomer because you have
Could be misnomer.
Because you have their status of them recognized as foreigners in our land.
Yeah, but they would have said that because these people basically destroyed Egypt. So remove the fucking citizenship. They're now foreigners in your land.
Well,
there are a lot of accredited historians who ascribe to this. So
yeah,
the likes of you and me saying it's wrong, that's just an opinion.
I think that's a fringe element, number one, and to be honest,
It's not actually.
The archaeology is sparse in that regard. But so if you see them as foreigners, all right, and then they leave, okay, it's not so much a quote unquote slave rebellion, all right, because they just leave. It's an expulsion.
That's what we're hoping happens
when you
in our
look at it
country,
from that
isn't it,
standpoint, it's not a slave rebellion; it's an expulsion because they didn't take over.
Yeah, that's pretty much the kind of thing we're hoping is going to happen in our country.
It is. Though, again, I would argue the rebellion with intent to take over isn't necessarily the thing, because after all, a rebellion is merely just to break the hold of the master over themselves. That's unless, of course, you want to tell me where I'm wrong, and I'm willing to be wrong, but that's how I've always taken a rebellion. It's not a matter of taking control.
You're pointing out the difference between a rebellion and a revolution.
Yes. Yes. You can rebel without taking over.
Okay, but a rebellion is, if you take a look at it from that standpoint,
I'm sorry to be pedantic.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying, but I just look at
No, you're
it
not.
as a successful change to the political system.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I don't think that you even when you talk about that, but regardless, we're getting sidetracked here. You have a
Okay.
successful slave rebellion in Haiti.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay, now it doesn't. Let's be perfectly frank. Did it fix the problems in Haiti?
No,
No.
it made it
God,
worse.
no.
Like I said, they didn't. Yeah, they merely exchanged French slave owners, slave masters, for Haitian slave masters.
Right.
Yeah.
And the
That's why you ended up with the likes of the Duvalier family, who still fucking run the country, I believe.
the other aspect of this was the number of slaves to slave owners in Haiti was 90% of the people were slaves.
Yep.
10% of the people were
Hey,
slave owners.
here's something amusing for you. The British colonies at the time, where you had there's a similar percentage of slaves to slave masters,
Mm-hmm.
because the vast majority of slaves in British territories weren't owned by individuals; they were owned by companies. You look at the Haitian slaves and other French colonies, which were slave colonies, and they also had revolutions, not as well known as the Haitian ones, but they had them. British colonies didn't. That's because we weren't fucking brutal bastards like the French were. Everywhere the French have gone in the world, they're hated.
Saying nothing.
I'm not going to
If
get into
if
that.
if Haiti had
I
been
want
a
to
British
stay. I want to
colony,
stay
there
focused.
wouldn't. If Haiti had been a British colony, there wouldn't have been a revolt. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
Mm.
all right. First of all, in the United States, all right, in the colonies when we were colonies, the correlation to slaves versus non-slaves in the average population was never more slaves than the average population. Even in the South during the Civil War, all right, slaves made up 1/3 of the population, the total population. Okay, so in order for it to have a successful slave revolt, okay, you kind of need the that dynamic to where you outnumber the people trying to oppress you. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Yeah, it's oh god, the slave days proves something that my history teacher used to tell us, and which is extremely relevant to the modern times.
Mm-hmm.
The oppressors have always been in the minority, the oppressed always in the majority. That is
Mm-hmm.
true today as well.
I disagree with that statement because it's just a
You would,
matter
because I said
of
it.
oppressed. Once again, you had people that were slaves, okay, in the South. They did not outnumber the the general population. Now they outnumbered their slave owners, obviously,
Mm.
but the vast majority of people in the South didn't own slaves.
But they weren't oppressing the slaves. They couldn't afford to.
Okay, but then it's not as my point is that if you start killing people who aren't even your oppressors,
Yeah, which is what he did.
all right,
I mean, he was
the
also, from what I've little I know of it, he even killed quite a few people who were part of the Underground Railroad.
who? John Brown?
What?
Brown.
Tyler
Oh, Turner.
Turner, yeah, Nat Turner,
Nate Turner.
Ike Turner.
It's not Ike.
Oh, sorry, wrong Turner.
Mm-hmm. Tina Turner.
Down,
Oh,
down.
Tiny Turnip.
Right. I don't know if he actually killed anybody that was part of the railroad. It didn't matter. Right. But
Mm-hmm.
my point is when John Brown started his attempt. Okay. How could he expect that to take place when, I mean, realistically, when the slaves did not outnumber the population. All right. So when we're looking at that, would he have been justified?
I think.
Would John Brown have been justified? What was his actions really justified?
Was he after, or was he after something similar to what Spartacus was after? Gather enough like-minded slaves and make a break for it to somewhere where there weren't slaves anymore.
Well, yeah, but he was going to overturn the political system as well. But yes, he was trying to do what Spartacus did. Only the problem with Spartacus's problem was is Spartacus said, "Okay, let's leave," and the Germans said, "Oh no, we're going to pillage some more."
Yeah, apparently Spartacus, the pirates were paid a higher number by the Romans because at that point the Romans could not let him get away. Politically, they could not let him get away.
The Romans don't let anyone get away if they can at all find a way to do
it. That's fair, actually. We can't argue that one.
All right, it wouldn't have mattered. the Romans had a very simple philosophy.
Yeah, we've got lead poisoning. We're insane.
And if you mess with us too doggone much, we'll just kick you out. If we can't find, if push comes to shove and we just can't have you around, we either kill you, and if we can't kill all of you, we'll just kick you all out.
Yeah, and you know what mess with Romans too much meant, don't you? Walking past them and saying hello.
That's fair.
So the Romans, referencing Spartacus, if you take a look at Spartacus's revolt, okay, I'll be honest with you, there were Romans. If you look in the things, there were Romans, of course, that were obviously terrified of it.
Yeah,
but there were Romans who
romanticized
him. There was Romans that admired Spartacus.
Yeah, like I said, there were Romans who romanticized him.
All right. Yeah. So if it wasn't for the fact that he stayed there, if he had just said, "Fine, you guys want to stay here, fine, I'm leaving. Who wants to come with me?
You know what amazed me about Spartacus? Not the fact that he looked exactly like Kirk Douglas.
And there it is.
but the fact that he was trained as a gladiator, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, from an illiterate slave. He was trained as a gladiator. I think he was taught to read and write as well. But he wasn't given any military training, yet he had a phenomenal ability with military tactics.
Natural talent, it happens.
Well, the fact that he created an army is the impressive thing.
Yep.
All right. The fact was he was able to train them, feed them.
Would be better off if he created a navy.
All right. His initial idea was to sit up there and free the slaves, and then take the slaves that were with him that he had trained, which he did train, and they were trained, and then he was trying to leave, and the 2/3 of his army though were freed German slaves who were like, "Oh, we're not done."
Yeah. A third of that 2/3 wanted to go back to Germany. The other third wanted to wander around the Italian countryside, looting and pillaging.
Just make a point. Are you trying to
wanted to do it? It wasn't just a 1/3 of the German, 2/3 though, because I think if it was just 1/3, he probably would have said, "You're on your own."
No, I just said 1/3 wanted to go back to Germany. The other third wanted to go roam around the countryside, looting and pillaging. Yeah. Spartacus, the third, just wanted to get the fuck out of Italy.
Yeah,
Are you trying to say the Germans being troublesome? When has that ever happened?
Yeah.
You got a good point there, Jenson.
Never happened before, ever.
Nope.
Especially sort of around the late 30s,
early 20th century.
Yeah. things never go badly then.
Yeah, and into the 21st century as well.
Yeah. But anyway, back to John Brown.
Yes.
In your minds, and I'm just your opinion, was he justified?
Okay, my turn. All right.
Yeah,
It could well be argued. It could well be argued that it's never actually justified to commit, well, basically murder on people. The return argument to that is that killing of anybody is technically murder, but equally official killing of people, i.e., the police and the military, that becomes a questionable point that is considered an acceptable thing. He was neither.
Well, is it murder or is it death by self-defense? Is really the question.
It's a questionable point when the police do it. It's acceptable when it's done by a soldier or military personnel in the
under orders. Yes.
I was going to say in the course of their duties.
Yeah, because you need to, and the difference of under orders is probably the most important part. So, was he justified? Questionable.
Morally,
was he right to go on? You go first.
Yeah, I think when MC's asking when No Nads is asking, was he justified? I think he's asking morally, and if so, you can't answer that question because at some levels, yes, he was. In other levels, no.
And we don't have the morals of the time.
Well, we kind of do, but to a watered down degree. But then again, we're not in his position. But like it says, to some degree, yeah, he was justified. To other degrees, no, he wasn't, because he did go too far.
I'll be honest with you. I don't think, unless you're planning on the complete removal of an entire species, then you should never actually kill children. But that's just me.
Yeah.
Okay. Note, I have no problem if the whole point is that you're planning on removing all of it. Absolutely fine with that, but that wasn't his plan originally. At least not that I know of.
Well, he didn't necessarily do that, but at the same time, obviously the society was such that when he took Harper's Ferry, right, the first person he ends up killing is a black man.
But that's funny.
Okay.
Not to the black guy, it wasn't.
That's fair.
So you end up in these situations once you declare war. If you're the one declaring war and you're setting the terms of the war to be anything goes, which that's what he basically had done, right? Those are the standards. I think the interesting aspect of this is I don't think the violence is justified. Right? You got to understand it from this perspective. The violence isn't justified in that regard because there were other means that were available. Okay. Now, the problem with when you say other means are available, the question then becomes realistic means and time frame. Okay.
Yes.
The reality was, even in Virginia, which was like I said, the holdout in a lot of ways for slavery. There was a lot of animus due to Bacon's and Nate Turner's rebellions that remained within that population of Virginia. Okay.
Yep.
But at the same time, there were the number of slaves per the population was going down dramatically, and there were movements, obviously in Virginia, all right, to over time end slavery. It wouldn't have ended. It would not have ended racism. I don't want people to think that racism and slavery are necessarily tied together.
No, they're not, because there was a lot. There was white slave owners who quite well noted historically for the unusually high level of treatment that the slaves were afforded.
Well, right. There was. I mean, there's a whole dynamic there that's not talked
Apparently,
about.
the black
But
slave owners were fucking horrible to their slaves.
I'm
to some degree.
assuming.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm assuming you do know about Obama and his connection to the slave masters.
Well, yeah, his family were probably selling slaves on the
All right.
eastern
Obama
slave
has no
trade
connection to
with
any
the Arabs.
really, Obama has no connection to slaves in any way, shape, or form, to be honest.
Apparently, he has got direct blood relations to a lot of the black slave owners that was going around at the time. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Unless it comes through the Kenyan, and I don't know about slavery in Kenya. All right.
I believe that they were part of some of the country. Kenya was part of, or one of the countries that was selling slaves. So,
well,
not a clue.
Kenya
One around,
was also part of the British Empire at one point, so
which is why they stopped selling slaves.
Well, no, they could have been. I mean, I'm not saying that they were. Obama, though, is Obama's a grifter. Okay, that's the reality.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's face it. Obama married a man.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna comment on that. Back to this, right? So, what you have in America is an interesting situation where, first of all, when you say that the ends justify the means, and say that the violence has to be used, right? Did it have to be used to overturn the institution of slavery? The institution of slavery was overturned peacefully in the British system, correct? Overall.
Yes. Yes. And pause for 1 second. Nomad, I've sent you the link to the Guardian talking about Obama and his family's slave owning history. It's up to you if you want to take a look at it, but
I'll probably
there's
bruise
the
it, but a
information.
little bit later. It's not that I doubt you. It's just Obama is just.
I know. I just want to prove my point. That was all, man.
The thing is you in the situation that you have in the United States, like I said, Virginia. In another 20 years, Virginia couldn't afford slavery. All right. Mainly because it was slowly industrializing. All right, and that industrialization, slavery doesn't work with industrialization. It's a hindrance to it. I shouldn't say it doesn't work with it. It's a hindrance to it. Right. So if you're hindering the industrialization that's going on, you end up eventually just freeing the slaves. It's not worth the effort. Okay. So I think that if America would have continued the way it was prior to the John Brown and prior to the Dred Scott decision, okay, I think that slavery would have petered out in America in a relatively fast manner. But that relatively fast manner was, a couple decades away.
Yeah.
I think John Brown brought on the Civil War, but did it in a different manner because what he did is he actually got the slave owners to commit the violence. All right. I mean, you talk about. I shouldn't say he got them right, but the reality is by doing that, there was now a wedge to where the slave owners became the ones that committed the violence that created the Civil War.
So if we're talking about the violence of the slave owners and against the slaves, you kind of want to look towards New Orleans. They had one or two people down there that would commit atrocities that actually would make the Nazis look at them and go, interesting.
Mind if we copy that?
The
Yeah.
Cajuns were Cajuns, all right.
Ah, yes, Southern comfort.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, New Orleans, and see, this is the problem: is Batman has a lot of truth when he talks about the French. Anything
What
that
was
the
that?
French touched, even afterwards, tends to be stained in a negative
I
manner.
don't know. The Cajuns are all right. I don't mind the Cajuns. They seem like a good bunch of folk. They're like French people with brains at it.
Well, but you got to remember, you're like what Jenson was just saying, that is it was a very brutal. They were very they're very brutal people. They really are.
oh yes.
People tend to forget that.
Yeah, but I hear that Cajuns. If you meet a friend with a Cajun, that's friends for life, apparently.
No, they are.
But if you meet any,
They're like that. That's true. But they are
yeah,
also
but
a group of.
if you make enemies with a Cajun, you're not going to last.
Well, they're
Especially if you
very
do it in the swamps.
they're very insular, family oriented kind of. We're gonna do Hatfield McCoy kind of mentality.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's
Right.
that's who they are.
I hear they're almost as tough as the Millwall Supporters Club.
No.
I
We are
said almost.
Millwall. Okay, that's better. We are Millwall. No one likes us. We don't care. Right. The person I was talking about was Marie Delphine McCarty. She was a New Orleans socialite and serial killer who's believed to have tortured and murdered slaves in her household. Yeah, she was a brutal little bugger, wasn't she?
So slavery also gives serial killers something to do, right?
Well, I mean, it's unfortunate, but killing of slaves was very difficult for most people, simply because the cost of the slave was such that you were losing a lot of money if you ended up just killing them.
Well,
Agreed.
unless it was a white slave, then it was like 2 a penny.
Well,
Unfortunately, that's all.
No, seriously, there was actually Mark Twain in a county he wrote. He's in Mississippi, and there's this river barge getting loaded, right? The cargo, and you got the black guys, the black slaves, they're working the pulley, right? And you got these white guys in the hold, guiding things down, which is the dangerous job.
Yeah.
They were white slaves. And
Yeah.
he asked, well, how come you got the white slaves down there and the black guys up there? And it's like, yeah. So I goes, in Mark Twain's words, well, these here books cost like $50 a head. That white trash down in the hold, that's like $5 a head.
Yeah.
yeah,
They you break one of their backs, you just get a new one.
Yeah.
yeah. That's how they look at it. But like I said, though, the interesting thing is the reason the Civil War had to go the way it did in America was because, like I said, blacks didn't outnumber the whites in those regions. All right, so there was never going to be the ability for a successful slave revolt. All right, and the other aspect of it if you weren't going to have a political solution, okay, where it had to come down, they were able to successfully get the slave owners to actually declare war, to actually fire the first shot, and they did so happily, mind you. If you talk about the people who fired on Fort Sumter, the guy was sitting there. He was proud to fire the first shot.
I'm choosing not to comment on that one.
Okay, so
I got it in the ear from Dodge far too often when talking about Fort Sumter. So
well,
Yeah, but you couldn't understand half what you said.
Dodge was still stuck on the fact that he had family that was part of that.
Yeah.
And that
Yes,
family
but
meant
half of them weren't. But let's face it, most of Dodge's family weren't seen during that conflict because Sasquatch.
that was another issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess what I was trying
Like
to
his
point out.
web feed.
Let's do you guys want to go over some things? Here, let me do this here. Okay, let me.
Ah! Pictures! Writing!
All right.
Oh,
You've got
Virginia
your,
School
what you call it,
Board
back open
votes to
again.
restore names of Confederate leaders to schools.
Why shouldn't they? It's part of their history.
In the wake of George
History
Floyd's
should
murder,
not
the
be
school board
forgotten
in
or
Virginia
hidden.
stripped the names of Confederate military figures from 2 schools. 4 years later, the board approved the motion to restore the names. Okay. And the names are Stonewall Jackson, named for Stonewall Jackson,
yeah.
and obviously Ashby Lee, all right, for Robert E. Lee.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Now, I don't know if what you guys know about Stonewall Jackson.
Can I just pause you a sec because I'm going to show my ignorance here. So, who the hell's Ashby?
I don't know who Ashby
I
is.
don't. Oh, okay, cool. In that case, it's not just I don't know it. All right, cool.
I don't
Carry
know
on,
who they're
please.
referring
Sorry.
to it in this case. I really don't.
Wasn't Jackson Grant's rival?
No, not that I know of.
Yeah, because Grant was the Union general.
Oh,
Jackson was a Confederate general.
yeah.
Jackson was a Confederate
I don't
general.
know. But he wasn't rival to Grant then.
No, but
Well,
he
yeah,
never fought,
because
he never
Grant.
fought.
Okay, that's what I thought.
All right.
I'm willing to admit my knowledge on this is a bit sketchy.
Yeah.
Stonewall Jackson
mainly related to movies.
was obviously a very religious man, right? He was an odd character, kind of an odd kind of guy. And very much a disciplinarian. Okay, as a commander and so forth. Okay, but he is someone who would have lived in obscurity if it wasn't for the Civil War. Okay. From everything that I've seen, he didn't own slaves. He was not a slave owner. Okay. He was a schoolmaster. Now, as a schoolmaster, he had absolutely no sympathy to his students. And,
so he was a proper schoolmaster.
He had no. I'll be honest with you. I kind of look at Stonewall Jackson if he'd have been alive today, and you'd be like, "This guy's an incel. He'll be an incel his entire life." Okay.
Wow.
Because he just had a type of. He just did not make personal connections with people like that. Right. He, as a teacher, when a student who was struggling with something would ask him, "All right, I didn't understand this aspect of your lecture." Okay.
Yep.
Stonewall Jackson wouldn't explore it with the student. He would just go back and repeat exactly what he told the student when he gave the lecture the first time.
Oh, one of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
He did not have the ability to really emote. I guess empathy was not the word.
He didn't have social skills.
Empathy. He had no empathy. I mean, at one point I think it's
empathy is a social skill.
Yeah, but in one of the battles, I think it was the Battle of Second Bull Run or Second Manassas. He calls for one of his aides, all right, because he wants to send him off. Because of course that's how you did things. Is you sent aides off to go and be a runner to other aspects of things, right?
Yeah.
And the guy he was saying when he called for the aid, one of the other guys that were with him informed him, all right, that his aide had been this aide that he was calling for had been killed, right? Had died in the battle, and his comment was quite commendable, quite commendable. Oh, he moved on.
Weirdly, I'm okay with that.
Weirdly, I'm glad I wasn't that aide.
That's fair.
Right? And it's just he just didn't have that. It's amazing he was able to get what he could out of his soldiers, but he did lead by example. I'll admit that as well. I mean, he was not asking his soldiers to do anything that he himself wasn't going to do. Right?
Yeah.
And in fact, that's how he ends up dying. Is he ends up he is out front. He is reconnoitering the Union positions to continue the attack. This is after the Battle of Chancellorsville is basically winding down, and the Yankees are defeated, and he's still wanting to crush them, and he's riding out front of his men when he's coming back through his lines, and his own men shoot him. Because
probably deliberately.
Because no, I don't think it was deliberate, because it was they talk about how it was very foggy and so forth. Fog was rolling and everything.
Yeah, it was basically American friendly fire, the early version.
And we're not taking a piss for once.
Nope.
As opposed to the British friendly fire at Cowpens.
Well,
anyway,
that's why I specified American friendly fire. But you started it first.
Yeah.
All right. So he was an odd kind of guy, but because of his actions in the Shenandoah Valley, okay.
Yep.
He has gotten a name. He's in all the Southern papers. Okay.
Which is a pity, because most of them couldn't read.
Okay, that's kind of a misnomer. To be honest, the majority of people could read. Now, would you say that they're at a high reading level? No, but most people could read to some extent.
That's actually true all the way down to medieval times as well.
All right.
Most people could read to a certain extent.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't. Some of them would struggle with certain phrases within the Bible, but most of them could read aspects of the Bible itself. So, but when it comes to things like this, where you got this school renaming them for Confederate generals,
yeah,
okay. The question I've got is with somebody like Jackson. Jackson, like I said, didn't own slaves, but he was fully in the causes of the Confederacy. Okay. Now he died.
Well, let's face it. If the Confederacy had won, they would have seceded from the United States, right?
Mm-hmm.
You ended up with two countries. You would have ended up with the United and the Confederate States of America, right?
Mm-hmm.
But slavery was dying out in the Confederate States anyway.
In some of them, yes.
Slavery wasn't. Yeah, slavery wasn't even part of the issues of the war, really.
No, it was.
May I interrupt for a moment? The Ashby gentleman, his name was Turner Ashby. He was an American officer, a Confederate cavalry commander in the American Civil War. In his youth, he organized an informal cavalry company known as the Mountain Rangers, which became part of the 7th Virginia Cavalry. Yeah, I went and looked him up.
Okay.
And dude, he's got a beard. I mean, really, you could get lost in that beard, okay?
They liked their facial hair back then, and so did the men.
That's fair.
Yeah, they definitely had beards back in those days. A lot of them were roaming around with beards. In fact, it's kind of unusual when you see the guy that doesn't have the beard.
Yeah, in general, check that beard.
But
in general, I like that.
well, yeah, I mean, look at the mustaches they had.
Yeah.
Have you,
Now, granted,
no.
at
have
the
you ever
time,
seen any of
they
those
said
pictures?
beards and mustaches were really the same thing. But
Yeah.
Well, have you ever seen those pictures of like photographs from the Old West?
Yes.
Yeah, that's facial hair city. That.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just that it's
Scary.
amazing that you end up with all these things. But okay, so you have Jackson is named for the school. He's named for the Fort Jackson,
Yeah.
and so forth. Successful general, right? He was a schoolmaster, right? He wasn't a slave owner, but he did fight for the Confederacy. Do you then honor this guy?
Well, yeah. I hate to say it, but it doesn't overly matter what side he was on in this equation. He was a air quotes local hero, so he deserves that recognition.
Well, okay, so if he's honored today, do you dishonor him later on when 200 years later, society has changed around you?
And we're at the whole which morality is correct, the modern morality, the original morality, or the morality that's yet to come. None of them are accurate because morality changes.
Yeah, one thing I definitely disagree with is where there's been destroying statues of these people. That's part of history. History should never be hidden.
Yeah.
Well, I think the problem that I had with the changing of these names wasn't so much that the names were changed, but you were changing them ad hoc. Okay, if you want to say, okay, I'd rather the school be named XYZ, okay, you should be trying to give XYZ the honor. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah, he means Z.
I know. It's okay. I'm used to translating American.
There is no Z.
And right now.
Yes, there is. It's the last letter of the alphabet.
That's Z.
Yes.
No,
that's you guys just incorrect. Don't worry, mate.
Yeah.
It's okay.
No, it's our way. It's our way of being correct.
Exactly.
No way of being incorrect.
Is correct.
No,
no. Just like
it's
center is CENTER. Okay.
CENTRE.
No.
Don't. Let's not get into the argument.
And Batman, it amazes me that you want to use the French version.
In all fairness, they created the word, so I'm actually willing to accept that statement. And in all honesty, it's actually not the French version. It's actually the Latin version that the French modified over to themselves. Sorry to be pedantic. Please carry on arguing.
Yes, thank you, Lieutenant Jenson.
I am not a fucking lieutenant. Thank you very much. I work for a fucking living. Thank you. How dare you, sir?
Yeah.
And well dare you.
God. My dad once said that lieutenants are basically just T-boys with pips.
Yes. I can honestly tell you that the lieutenant will come up with all these wonderful ideas that we're supposed to do X, Y, and Z. That's right, I said Z, deal with it. And we'd all just look at the sergeant, and then he'd say what we had to do, which was generally nothing like the lieutenant actually said. So,
but actually got done what the lieutenant wanted to get done.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. The sergeant's got shit done. The lieutenant just told the sergeant what the brass upstairs came up with good ideas with.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's he's not wrong, folks. Lieutenants have the young lieutenants when they first get their little butter bars, what we call butter bars, right?
Mm-hmm.
They come out of that school with the wrong mentality. The vast majority.
Oh yes.
Okay, let's talk about this for a moment. Now I realize this is an American issue.
Mm-hmm.
After a loss on FISA, privacy-minded senators find a new target: facial recognition at airports.
Yeah.
After losing a fight on government surveillance in April, the left-right coalition of privacy hawks in the Senate is on to the next privacy battle: facial recognition technology in airports. FISA Act and the Transportation Security Administration's facial recognition technology are vastly different with completely unrelated goals. TSA emphasized to NOTUS that their facial recognition software is never used for surveillance or law enforcement. Okay. That's bullshit. Okay.
Fair.
Anybody, the fact is the TSA agents are law enforcement. So if they're using it, then it's being used for law enforcement. Or did I miss something here?
No.
Probably.
Now, Batman, you guys live in Cameraland, what I call Cameraland, especially Jenson.
Oh
Maybe
yeah,
Jenson.
I
Right?
do. I'm
What is
okay
your
to admit that.
opinions of these cameras everywhere? And this use
Honestly,
of this
they are
technology?
freaking annoying.
I really, really like what's happening in London with the Blade Runners.
I do not support them in any way, shape, or form, but it's amazing how many lampposts fall over. It's a terrible design. There must be something really badly wrong with them. Don't know what it is though.
Are people finally taking steps to alleviate the issue?
Okay, go on. You first.
Yes, there are people coming out in the darkness of the night, cutting down lampposts with these ULEZ cameras on them, and then disappearing into the darkness.
And they're like videoing it being taken down. Oh, obviously they're wearing masks and stuff. You can't see who they are, but they will show you them being cut down, and then signs will go up and say, "There must have been a strange wind last night which blew this over. What a pity."
Okay.
We should do.
So yeah.
Now, is the reason for that because it was being used for taxes?
We're basically getting sick and tired of it, is why it's being done. The fact it's being done for taxes, which is bollocks because it's not taxes, it is purely a money making resource for these people. And before you say taxes is just a money making resource, no, at least taxes you can understand.
Yeah.
They're basically go on, you first.
The thing is that these ULEZ taxes, as they're called, they make it impossible for people who need vehicles for a living to make a living. And that can involve just getting from A to B, or actually like hauling their fucking their tools around because the tradesmen. The only people who aren't getting affected are the fucking rich.
Yeah.
And Sadiq Khan's mates.
Oh, okay. Can I ask you another question? This is just, you gotta understand, I'm an American.
Mm-hmm.
Are tradesmen part of the working class, or are they part of the middle class?
Working.
Literally, by definition, they're working class. So remember that working class and middle class is different between my country and your country.
Yeah, because we have a lower, a middle, and an upper of each class.
Yes.
And tradesmen are what you call upper working class.
Yep.
Because they're also self-employed, therefore they've got their own business.
Yes.
So
but they
is a
literally
doctor working
work
class,
for
or
a
is
living.
he middle class?
No, that'll be middle.
No, upper middle class. Because a shopkeeper is lower middle class.
Yes, because they're mercantile class, which is by definition middle class.
Okay, but why are doctors at the middle class level?
Because they've still got to work for a living.
And they're not nobility.
Right, so a lot of the upper class, you get the upper class as well. They're not nobility, they're just so fucking rich they don't have to work. And then you get the nobility, the aristocracy, and then you get royalty.
Yeah, true. I'm not including the upper levels because they really do start to get into the silly rates. Anyway, you was asking a question, Nomad.
Right. Well, because obviously in the United States, the middle class is has nothing to do with what you do. It has to do with what wage you earn.
Yeah.
It's both over here.
Remember, America basically worships money more than anything else.
Yeah,
but that's the thing.
No.
it's actually because phrases like "penny for your thoughts." That's an Americanism.
It
Is it now?
is.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
I actually thought it was a Victorian thing. Okay.
I'm gonna put in my 2 cents.
Yep.
Right, which is also an American phrase. But
Yep.
Yeah.
You're just seeing a pattern here, aren't you?
it comes down to what is all this stuff worth. Okay.
Yeah, that and a quarter will buy you a cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he probably did.
I'll buy that for $1. You've seen a lot of connections.
Hold on here.
With
I'll buy that for $1 was not an American term, to be honest.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, it was.
Really, really was.
No.
England are rather known for not having dollars. In fact, let's be honest. If you're going to
that specific thing, which became popular in American lexicon only because of the term RoboCop, actually is a turn of phrase from the Koreans, from one of their Korean shows.
Hold on.
I'm sorry, the Koreans have. Look, I don't know. All right? I want that stated right at the beginning. I do not know this, but are you telling me that? I'm assuming you mean the South Koreans here. You telling me that South Koreans use dollars, whether it be in the Korean dollar or some derivative thereof?
It was a turn of phrase that they adapted from a Korean game show.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. Didn't know that. Again, learning something new.
But then again, I have said in the past that Koreans tend to be very like Ferengi, so
yeah, there was actually we did have $1. It was more slang than anything else, but it was equal to like 10 shillings.
Oh, I did not know this.
Yeah, but like I said, it was slang.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We should have kept the old PS12 money because it confused the fuck out of foreigners. And on international exchange ratings, we did quite well because we could say it was what we felt like saying.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Your monetary systems between a pound, a shilling, and what all these dozen things are, they confuse the shit out of me all the time.
That's easy. It was base 12, basically.
Yeah.
You had 12 pennies in a shilling, right? And 20 shillings in a pound.
20 shillings in a pound? How is that base 12?
Don't look at me. Don't look at me.
It started out as base 12.
Oh.
And I did say, basically.
So basically, the British are just being British. In fact, it's let's make up the rules as we go and have no consistency.
Yeah. Why do you think we were so fucking rich back in the 19th and early 20th century?
And then it all went horribly wrong. But,
yeah, then we accepted decimalisation and it all went horribly wrong.
Yeah, we were screwed way before that, dude. Come on.
And you're right. 12 inches in a foot. All right. And 3 feet to a yard. But at least that's still a base
you are
3.
Correct.
I remember getting sent to stand outside the headmaster's office once because we had to answer inwards questions in maths and and how many feet were in a yard, and it depends how many people are standing there. And I got made to stand outside the headmaster's office for that.
I wonder why. In all fairness, okay,
that's an American one. Jenny and I forgot. I recently learned what it comes from. Oh, it comes from World War II with when an American fighter pilot come back from a sortie and he'd emptied the magazine in his wings. He'd fired off the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, 9 yards was the ammo belt length.
Yep.
He probably did it at British soldiers,
right? Yep. Dry humor, yes.
Yes.
Shall we move on to another story?
Yeah, Go ahead. So Americans don't understand dry humor. That's the problem. Though he actually did spell humour correctly, which is nice.
Yeah. I think Nimble Horse is English.
Radical Rage, moment army of black Klan
I think you should read this. Hold on.
Musk's Gigafactory
I think you should read this.
Germany.
I think you should read this in the style of Pontius Pilate from Life of Brian.
Radical Wage.
Radical Wage?
Scottish. Yes.
Well, anyway. Dramatic footage shows far left demonstrators defying cops and breaking through police lines before reaching the fence of the Tesla plant. These are some determined protesters. Yeah. Because the Germans don't play games.
Yep. No, but then again, nor do their police.
Well, I mean, that's what I mean. The police like this generally doesn't play games.
I don't know if they still do it, but once over. So if you were speeding on a German road, hold on. If you were speeding on a German road, right, you get two German police, traffic police, pull up either side of you on their bikes, right, and tell you to pull over. If you didn't pull over, they'd take their fucking their nightsticks out and start battering your car.
Nice.
Until it fell apart.
Nice. I'm okay with that.
Okay. I was trying to understand why these people are upset. And it says, what's their reasoning for it? Oh, it's contaminated drinking water in the area?
Yeah. Look, they're just basically coming up with good ideas. They don't like him because of what's going on with X. That's what it is. They've been told not to like him, therefore he is sore on himself.
Yeah, well, we'll see what that contaminated drinking water does. I mean, Greta Thunberg's parents drank it before she was born.
Their usual method is to target railway lines or cable ducts and data lines and radio masts. What is it that this group is after?
Chaos. Burn it all down.
Well, I mean, they're stated reasons, not their actual reasons.
Oh, right, okay.
I don't know. The Europeans, I don't care.
That's fair, actually.
Because it's going to show up. I guarantee this group is going to have some adherents on your island.
Depressingly.
Yeah, well, it's an island. They haven't got very many places to hide, have they?
You say that, I'm going to remind you there was that Arab who was throwing acid around, melted half his face, and he managed to disappear until I found his dead body. So, can you hide? Yes.
Let's face it. The security services knew where he was all the time.
This is a mistake. Earlier this week, Tesla announced it would
hold on, Nimble Horse. What do you mean? How dare I?
No. This is a mistake here.
Well,
earlier this week, Tesla announced it would halt production. Don't ever give in to these idiots.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
You don't ever give them what they think is a victory, because they just grow. They just metastasize.
Right. Yeah, I've got to apologise to Nimble Horse here. I'm sorry, Nimble Horse. I did not mean to bring up the name of Gollum's daughter.
It's climate change goblin. Just call it that. It's so much easier.
It's the same thing. You know what I think? What's going through my mind at the moment? Those two old biddies who tried to damage the Magna Carta should be thrown in prison.
Yes.
Especially because of the rage, because they really should have known better.
Yeah. And to make it easier for you, Nomad, although you probably worked it out yourself, damaging the Magna Carta would be like someone taking a sledgehammer to the original Bill of Rights for America. I don't think that'd go down well, do you?
The Constitution.
Yes. I don't think that'd go too well, do you?
Declaration of Independence. It's one of the founding documents, but it's not the one that's in.
The Magna Carta would be... Actually, the Magna Carta would constitute as the equivalent of both of them, I should imagine.
Yeah, why do you think I chose Bill of Rights specific? But the point being is that should give you exactly how annoyed that will make a proper Englishman.
Yeah,
or even a
I
fake
kind of was
Englishman.
surprised that they even did that, because that was.
I'm not. They're insane.
Yeah.
No, they're insane. And what I've noticed is they Just Stop Oil and all the other fucking groups, which are the same fucking group. They use the same fucking colours, the same logos, they're the same fucking group. They just change the name.
Pretty much.
They're always trust fund babies or fucking upper class or upper middle class people who are either retired or don't have to work and are just out to cause fucking trouble.
Like I said, burn it all down. I did say this earlier.
No, I think they should all be rounded up, have their assets frozen, and forced to work for a fucking living.
I say ship them off to Gaza and leave them there. That's just me.
What's fucking Paul Gascoigne ever done to you?
I could come up with a whole series of reasons why we should send them to Gaza.
Or Wayne Rooney.
No, we don't send anyone to Wayne Rooney. You know what he's like with his whores. Just saying.
Yeah. So?
That's not fair to those poor people. I mean...
Well, oh, God, I've got the perfect idea. What we
Go
do
on.
is we tell Wayne Rooney that that Islam has been disrespecting his girlfriend. Yeah. You want an ethnic cleansing?
Oh, that could go badly.
Time for some fans.
Not for us.
Yep. You know, I'm only waiting for one part of the fan service.
A little bit of
Come
fan
on,
service.
there we go. There we go.
All right. Back to this. There are several stories here from the AP. Anything catch your eye?
Herman shot by deputy doted on his own little sister and aimed to buy Mama House, family says.
You want to do this one?
Yeah, it sounds like a human interest story.
All right.
I'm
Just 2
surprised
days
you're not
before a
doing...
sheriff's deputy in Florida shot him dead, U.S. Air Force Senior Airman Roger Fortson called home to find out what his 10-year-old sister wanted for her birthday. It was a typical gesture for the 23-year-old from Atlanta who doted on the girl, and was devoted to helping her. A younger brother and his mother prosper, his family says. He was trying to give me everything that I could never get for myself, his mother, I'm not going to butcher your name, Fortson, said Thursday at a news conference in Fort Walton Beach, where her son was living when he was killed. All right. Sheriff officials say that he was acting in self-defense while responding to a call of a disturbance in progress at an apartment complex. All right. But civil rights shyster, slip and fall lawyer Brent Crump, and that's who this guy is, who is representing the Fortson family, has accused the deputy of going to the wrong apartment and said that the shooting was unjustified. All right, they're investigating. In other words, they're not going to tell us what happened here.
Of course not.
Okay, now it very well could be an unjustified killing. I mean, that police
From what they're
make
saying
mistakes
about him, and I mean,
all the time.
The only people who know what he was actually like are his family. So we've only got what they say about him. It could have been an unjustified shooting, and yeah, I've got a bias towards serving military personnel. So,
well, normally U.S. military personnel are very disciplined people, right? And for a variety of reasons, you have to be disciplined to survive in the military. Now they say that she was going to try and that this guy was going to try and buy his mother a house. Not on a low level like private's pay. He's not, and that's what an airman is.
Yeah, I don't think it was with his wages alone. He was probably sending her money, and that she'd be adding her own wages and possibly other family members' wages to that.
Well, and that's possible, right? I mean, I'm not denying that that's not a possibility. I just think that there's something here. Once again, it's another situation where we don't know exactly what happened, and of course, the family is screaming racism and so forth. Now, if this guy was just walking down the street and the cop shot him because, for whatever reason, thought he was a perpetrator, and this guy just looked up and said, "What?" and got shot, that can happen. All right, I'm all for this, but I just there's obviously something in here that we're not being told about. That's what's getting
yeah. We're going to get one side of the story. That's why we don't watch. We don't adhere to mainstream media anymore. I mean, I don't know about the States, but once over in the UK, both the independent news networks on the independent television channels and the BBC News were world renowned for their relative impartiality.
Yeah, just, the
They really
BBC
were.
was famous for this. Let's be honest. At one point.
At one point, the BBC was literally the voice of the nation. Now it's the big, loudest voice against the nation.
Well,
Dude,
from
it's
an
voice of the
American's
world.
perspective of the BBC, it's always been a left-wing organization.
It hasn't. It was very much middle class at one time, wasn't it, Jenson?
Yeah.
When I say left-wing, I'm talking about left-wing from an American perspective, which once again is not the same thing as how you guys differentiate things.
Actually, back when I was a kid, and I suspect when Jenson was a kid as well, the BBC was not left-wing at all.
No, but to be honest, okay, BBC have the World Service for a reason.
Yeah.
Okay, it was the generalized. Oh, if the BBC reported on it, there was a damn good chance it was telling the truth.
Yep. I mean, they also had Kate Adie, the BBC head of Danger.
Yeah. Oh fuck. Yeah, I forgot about her.
Yeah. A middle-aged newscaster who started off. She was an anchor woman, and she ended up going into all the danger hotspots around the world.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I agree with what you're saying to a point, but that doesn't mean that they weren't left wing. And the problem, like what Jensen said, was if they reported on something you knew it was true, that's fine. The question was what weren't they reporting?
True.
Usually, what the government at the time issued a gag order on, like they weren't allowed to put any footage of Sinn Féin on the news with sound.
Mm-hmm. And I would point out, given the sort of timeline we're talking about here, Nomad, we're talking Margaret Thatcher, and let's get blunt. If she's not right wing, then a certain little Austrian guy in Germany was most definitely a left winger. Okay,
he was actually.
Well, he was a left winger, but that's
I know, but he is considered the ultimate in the right wing. Okay.
Okay, this leads me to the next question. What makes a person right wing?
Before we go on, put it this way. Back in like the 60s and the 70s, Harold Wilson, leader of the Labour Party, he was supposed to be a lefty, right? By today's standards, he's far right.
Let's be fair, everyone's far right nowadays.
Well, okay, what defines a person on the right?
I would say individualistic, individual freedoms and rights, capitalism, definitely, and the concept of property ownership.
Technically, you could look at it as an organized version, a competent version of the American libertarians. I said competent. I want that clear.
Yeah.
I don't think there's such a thing as a competent libertarian, but that's a separate issue.
Hey, look, I'm giving you the closest description I can give you, mate. All right.
Actually, if it wasn't for competent libertarians, you wouldn't have your American republic.
Well, in your view, how does society at this point define right wing, define the hard
right? At this point, society defines the right wing as anything that doesn't agree with the far left, which is in power at the moment, if we're going to be brutally honest about things.
Yeah. He's not wrong there.
Anything that's a dissenting voice is far right.
Mm-hmm. That answer your question?
No, that's a good answer to the question.
Oh, that's another thing which I think I would say is a libertarian point of view is everybody should have equal access to freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and the opportunity to better oneself. That to me is a libertarian and a liberal. But then again, I was born in '64 and brought up during the '60s and '70s. So what I consider a liberal isn't what modern people consider a liberal, isn't what Americans consider a liberal.
True.
Ukraine says Russia is trying to break through its defenses in the northeastern Kharkov region.
If it was trying to, it would have.
Okay. Ukraine rushed reinforcements to its northeastern Kharkov region on Friday to hold off a Russian attempt to breach the local defenses, authorities said, signaling a tactical switch in the war by Moscow that Ukrainian officials had been expecting for weeks. Kharkov's regional governor, Ole Sinebniev.
Dude, something foreign. There you go.
All right. There is no way you can pronounce that. All right. It said intense overnight shelling targeted Volshansk, a city with a pre-war population of about 20,000 that is less than 5 kilometers from the Russian border. The barrage, which used a powerful guided aerial bombs, artillery, rockets, tanks, and mortars, killed at least one civilian, wounded 5 others, and prompted authorities to begin evacuation of about 3,000 people. Then around dawn, Russian infantry tried to penetrate Ukrainian defenses near the city. All right, the Ukrainian defense minister said, adding that it deployed reserve units to fend off the attack.
Okay, hold up. First of all, a barrage was used and they managed to kill a whole one person. That's not a barrage. That's a person lobbing a stone. Freaking ridiculous. Okay, you've been sitting here trying to tell me that Russia is supposed to be into its artillery and really quite good. No, they're obviously really, really shit with it. Sorry, dude.
It's the Ukraine defense trying to break through the Ukraine. It was probably a couple of fucking Russian soldiers just nipped into the woods to have a piss.
Yeah.
It also could be that.
I mean, let's face it. The manpower and equipment the Russian army have. If they wanted to go through the fucking Ukrainian defenses, they would have just gone through them.
Oh no, not nowadays. I would agree. Back at the beginning, nowadays, the Ukrainians have actually got good hardware.
Is the one thing that everyone was decrying not too long ago. Landmines. Lots of them. In depth.
Oh, see, there's a quick story. There was a quick story popped up there on the side of the articles there about the Soy Scouts of America.
Well, they're changing the name from Boy Scouts to just Scouting America.
Yep.
That's not a story that I find all that.
Yeah, I still that still rankles me. I mean, saying it was sexist for the Boy Scouts to exist and it should include girls, whereas you've got the Girl Scouts of America that still don't include boys.
Yeah, but that's okay.
Yeah.
What's a girl?
That's also
a girl is an immature human female with 2 X chromosomes and the potentiality to become pregnant and bear live offspring.
No, that's a rational view.
I adhere to that, and if you try and stop me from adhering to that, I'm going to pull your arm out of your throat after first of all shoving it up your own arse.
Okay, let's take a look at where this is. This is where the fighting. They say the fighting is. Do you think that they're going to try that the Russians are going to actually try and open up a front here, or do you think that this is more just to alleviate pressure down here as they continue to try and go through Kazakh?
It's alleviating pressure. At the end of the day, the Russians have got what they want. It's just a matter of keeping hold of it.
Do you think that the Russians are intending to come all down here and then establish a defensive line along this area here? Do you think that's their ultimate goal in this region?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it would make the most sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they may be trying to make a push up there, but if they are making a push up there, I can
tell
you one thing.
Hold on. Nimble Horse, no. Nazi is a foreshortening of the word that the Germans use, which I can't pronounce, for the National Socialist Workers' Party of Germany. It's got nothing to do with Jews or Hebrew. Nazarene was what Jesus was called by the no. It was a term coined by heretics during the Dark Ages to describe Jesus because he came from Nazareth.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought it was just the Romans. What the Romans used for they're calling the
and
that region.
If anybody in the chat is still supporting of the Arabs who are trying to claim Israel as theirs, you want to go and listen to that guy who's the son of the founder of the of Hamas. He'll destroy all of your illusions.
Yeah, but that means he's a Nazi and he's obviously incorrect because only they're correct.
And that kind of mentality is very
Let's do another
Nazi.
human interest story.
Okay.
Iowa sex trafficking victim who killed the alleged abuser sought by authorities.
Yeah, well, if she is a sex trafficking
victim convicted of fatally stabbing a man whom she accused of abusing her has absconded from her probation, authorities said in court records. The Iowa
That's
Department
a stupid thing to do.
Go ahead. What were you saying, Batman?
No, that's a stupid thing to do. That's a stupid thing to do because if what she's saying is true, she's got no reason to run. And if it's proven in court that she did what she did for the reason she said, she would be acquitted. The fact that she's run has really soured her case. She's an idiot.
Well, she was convicted.
Was
she? She was convicted of murder, yeah.
She shouldn't have been if she was in the right. If she killed people because of abuse and that.
Involuntary manslaughter, apparently.
Lewis, 19, had faced a 20-year prison sentence for the June 2020 fatal stabbing of Zachary Brooks. Lewis had said that she was trafficked to Brooks, 37, against her will and forced to have sex with him multiple times at age 15. Lewis pled guilty.
She shouldn't have been fucking sentenced.
Lewis pled guilty in September in 2022 of involuntary manslaughter and willful injury and was sentenced to probation. After later admitting violating the terms of her probation, the judge sentenced her again to probation but noted, "You've asked for a second chance. You don't get a third." Lewis was taken in November of 2023 to a residential program in Atlanta that helps victims of sexual exploitation. She was accused of repeatedly violating the center's rules and asked to leave in March. The requested arrest warrant states. After that, she met with probation officials and was fitted with a GPS monitor, but failed to attend meetings and allowed her monitor battery to go dead. Well, now wait a minute here. You're the one that put the damn thing on her. It isn't up to her.
She's a fucking idiot.
But the batteries in it.
No, she's an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if she followed, if she kept her nose clean, she would have had no problems.
Okay. Let's. This is a 15-year-old.
I mean, what is she mentally subnormal or something?
Well, this is a 15-year-old or she's now 19, but who had basically
been abused
and so forth. And let's be perfectly frank.
Yeah.
She had obviously some bad advice when somebody told her to go ahead and plead guilty.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm going to stand by this. And I understand the way these guys work. But I'm going to tell you right now, in the justice system in the United States, if you are stupid enough to plead guilty because somebody says, well, if you plead guilty to this, you'll only get this. Okay? No, she should have taken this to court.
Yeah.
She should have taken this situation to court, and she would have been found not guilty.
Yeah.
If for no other reason,
she would
have been found
absolved.
not guilty by reason of insanity.
Extenuating circumstances and undue pressures.
So I mean, there people. I've known a lot of people who have taken quote unquote plea deals, right? Thinking, okay, the justice system is working for me, and I'm getting good advice from these lawyers. I have a very negative attitude toward the justice system. I really do, and this is one of the reasons why.
Yeah.
Her lawyers probably told her they didn't want to have to deal with the case, and was just trying to get her to plead so he didn't have his time wasn't taken up by her. Yeah. That's what this looks like to me. Now, if she's on the lam, I mean, unfortunately at this point, all it's doing is making things worse for herself. You're exactly right, Batman. But the situation at this point, it never should have came to this point. Right? And it's unfortunate that it has. Okay, perhaps she is on the lam. To me, it sounds like she's been a troubled. She has a lot of other problems, and it's very possible that they're not going to find this woman alive. Unfortunately.
Nope. Or they're gonna try find her alive and try and take her in, and she's gonna do something stupid, and she's gonna wind up dead.
Yep.
I mean, it never should have come to this point. It's obvious to me that somebody had screwed this up royally, right?
Yep.
And the person to blame in this case is this quote unquote public defender bullshit. Oh, we're gonna take these all those people that are public defenders. You know what they're doing? They don't give a shit about their clients. I'm gonna say this right now. The vast majority of those people don't give a shit. What they're looking for is the one case that makes them a household name, and therefore they get money.
Yeah. And get to become get to join the district attorney's office, which pays more money, from what I hear.
No. Well, actually, no. The private.
It's also good. It's also but it depends what you want out of your law career. Because from what I hear in the States, the district attorney's office is a good route into politics.
It is. That's true. If you're into politics and you want to go the political route, yes, being a district attorney is part of that process. All right, but like the Ben Crump I was telling you about, he's made millions and millions because he's a well-known name, and he's just he's a slip and fall attorney. It's really all he is.
A high-class ambulance chaser, basically.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. He lives off the misery of others. He's just he's a despicable human being.
That's actually a culture which they tried to start over here in the 90s, if you remember, Jenson. Claims for You. And that, to our credit, it never took off, did it?
No.
Because do you know where, like, a situation where an American will sue another American, like, say, you've damaged the fucking tree in my garden. I want to sue you. In the UK, it's you damaged a tree in my garden, right? I want to kick your fucking head in, you bastard.
Yeah. I clearly remember when I'm going to sue you was a thing back at school, though.
Oh God. I mean, it's not just kick your head in. There's other ways of doing it as well. There was this guy moved into next door to a mate of mine, and problem family, right? Family with a bunch of arseholes, a bunch of thieves, and well, this guy was doing up his driveway, right? The problem family guy, and they were out when the ready mix came. So the mate says, "Oh yeah, just dump it there. I'll get the wheelbarrow and put her on the back." So he did. So what mate did was he was a plasterer. is once the ready mix guy has dumped the fucking ready mix concrete there, because it comes in, literally ready mix. You dump it out.
Okay.
He got his plastering tools out.
Yeah.
And he turned this pile of concrete, ready mix concrete, into a pyramid in the middle of this guy's driveway. By the time he got home, it had set.
Oh.
Yeah.
And based on the story you're just about to do, Nomad, poor dude.
Judge finds Beach Boys Brian Wilson needs conservatorship because of mental
horrible.
decline. So musician Brian Wilson with his wife Melinda Ledbetter Wilson, right, at the 55th Grammy Awards. A judge found Thursday that Beach Boys found
he was the lead singer, wasn't he?
Oh, he was more of a songwriter. He did sing. He was part of the Beach Boys. He founded the Beach Boys and stuff, but should be in a court conservatorship to manage his personal and medical decisions because of what doctors call major neurocognitive disorder. At the hearing, the Los Angeles Superior Court Judge Gus T. May approved the petition filed by the 81-year-old Wilson's family and inner circle after the death in January of his wife Melinda, who handled most of his tasks and affairs. It sounds like
it sounds like the onset of Alzheimer's.
Yeah. It sounds like he's. I mean, that's.
It's a horrible thing.
It's a horrible thing to watch your family member go through something like that. It really is.
I've got to distract with this. The name of that fucking judge. I mean, what were his parents thinking? Gusty May.
I didn't. I didn't make up the name.
Does he have a cousin? Does he have a cousin called Windy June?
I don't know.
No, a distant relative. Does he have a distant relative called April Showers?
Now, I could have done a story on the person I had warned.
I'm sorry, I'm distracted from that because that is a fucking sad story.
It is a sad story, but and in his case, obviously, it has to do with age, and some people go through this. All right,
yeah.
My dad's going through this.
Yeah,
it's no fun for anybody.
My dad went through it. Yep.
The thing is,
and I'm sorry to hear
other
that.
People that need conservatorship. That a lot of people, they make stupid things like, and specifically what I'm referring to is Britney Spears.
Yeah.
That whole free Britney thing, and now people are saying she's out of control. She's lost it. She's going on this. All these people that said all these nasty things. It was like, at least when her father was looking out for her, you didn't see her running naked in the dang frickin' streets.
I feel sorry for her because I've seen her interviewed quite a few times, and she always comes across as a nice, sincere person.
Mm-hmm.
I feel sorry for her.
I think
before
that she probably is
a
sincere person, but the problem is she's also got mental health issues. I don't think she's someone that can stay stable, all right, in her life on her own.
She goes through periods, doesn't she?
Yeah. And it's unfortunate, but and of course there are people around her that just want to use her for for her money and don't give a shit really about her. They're just trying to see what they can get out of her.
And they worsen her conditions.
Yeah, yep. Well, yeah, it's exactly. But it's exactly like you said. She's a nice person who's being taken advantage of, and then all it does is further the thing. But all those people, remember, it wasn't too long ago, all those people were screaming, "Free Britney! Free Britney!" And I was like, I don't think this is a good idea. She hasn't proven she's mentally stable yet.
It's like Muhammad Ali. I mean, he had this guy, later on in his life when he was in mental decline, who basically took him over.
Mm-hmm.
I just find it so sad. Now, his Brian Wilson's daughter was one of the founding members of Wilson Phillips.
Yes. Good music, by the way. I quite like that.
And she's for the people who don't know, she's also a songwriter. She's more known for her writing. Her voice is really good. She was the one that was struggling with weight, so she had that stomach surgery where they staple the stomach or whatever.
Yeah.
Laparoscopic surgery, I guess is what it is.
Yeah, I disagree with everything you just said there, Nimble Horse. And he's removed the comment.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's put back.
The majority of men are not capable of thinking, but only believing.
So basically, it's Arthur's comment. Wouldn't worry about too much
Arthur
about it.
Schopenhauer.
Yeah, like I said, Arthur.
Arthur.
Daily.
Sounds like a name I have to look up.
The only way that makes any sense is if you're using men as in human. Because the majority of humans do tend to seem like they don't think.
Especially nowadays.
Like I said, do seem.
Yes.
Well, the thing of, okay, logic and the application of logic is what people fail to differentiate in today's society.
Actually, here's the one for you, and this is actually true. It's logic is used to justify emotion. You make a decision, you think it's a rational decision. It's not. You can't make decisions without emotion.
See, I totally disagree with that.
It's actually proven. You have people who either because hold on. You have people who are born, right, without emotion, or people who have had brain damage and have lost emotion. Those people cannot make decisions because you need to either like or dislike something to make a decision.
Disagree.
Now, I know you will make a decision to do something or accept something you don't like.
So those people
but
you claim,
you still have an emotional content in that.
Okay, so those people, because I'm going to disagree with you, and I'm going to show you why. So you're saying those people who have no ability to have emotion need to say, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they can still speak.
Yes.
All right. Which means they had to take the activity to try and do that. Okay. Action.
Well, speech is necessary to communicate, to relay information, and to.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the emotion to be able to decide to do that,
probably.
This is where
they're reacting.
I
probably
agree
they're
that
responding.
There are a lot of things that are tied in that total emotionalness.
It is true that you need that every decision you make is based on emotion. It's not consciously done, but it is done, and you rationalize it.
I disagree with that because emotions are also, and let's be honest, when you talk about emotions, there's multiple emotions you can have simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Just the willful act of suppressing the emotion, you can say then is an emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Which is tied somewhere in somebody's deep psyche. I disagree with that. Okay? You can say it's a learned response, but a learned response is not necessarily an emotional one either.
No, a learned response isn't. A learned response is a learned response.
But a learned response is also can also cause reaction.
But a lot of kids, all the kids' decisions are 100% emotional, right?
Initially, I would say that to a degree, yeah.
I'm okay with that.
You learn to rationalize those decisions and Yeah, and yes, and use external information to base your decisions on, but you still base them on an emotional. There's still an emotional content with your decision making.
Once again, you have multiple emotions that go on simultaneously. Okay.
But there's always one overriding emotion.
No. An overriding emotion can be suppressed.
Yeah.
Should I say a governing emotion, as with your
Once
annoyance
again,
with me at the
whatever is
moment.
governing that whatever's governing can be suppressed or ignored, and that's conscious will.
To a degree, yes. To a degree, yes.
Right? I mean, let's be honest. How many times
Unfortunately,
have you done something you knew better than to do, and you said, "I want to do this anyway," did it, and then said, "Yeah, that was what I expected to happen. Happened, and was really stupid."
That's called my childhood.
Gentlemen, I'm going to have to bug. You guys look after yourself. I'll speak to you all later.
Have a good one, Jenson.
Take it easy, man.
See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, God, he's gone.
But you see my point, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, but you see mine as well.
I do. I do
I don't
that.
think,
but I think
I don't think I'm ever going
to. The problem that I have is
I don't think I'm ever going to get you around to believe what I'm saying. But the same, you're never going to get me to accept what you're saying.
No, it's not that so much as I think people have a tendency of when they explore something that they take it to a degree beyond reasonableness. Right? And for example, this is obviously just what challenge. I mean by this, but one of the guys I follow, Arthur Nix, right, and he put out a thing about Tim Scott, and he called Tim Scott a swamp creature, basically. He called him a sellout, right? And my problem wasn't with his rationality per se of why he's upset about Tim Scott. My problem is that it's creating this. You're calling this guy basically a swamp creature. In this case, you're saying that he's corrupt just because he did something you disagree with.
Mm-hmm.
And you end up with creating these kind of political purity tests to the nth degree. The Earth is flat.
No, it's not flat. It's just got a slow puncture.
It's got a slow leak.
I think one of the stupidest ones I've heard. It's stupider than even the flat Earth. And the guy who used to draw the Batman comics, Neil Adams, firm believer in it, put videos on YouTube about it, was that planets grow. The reason why all the continents fit neatly together, I mean, they don't fit neatly together because of erosion and shit like that, right?
Right.
But they once over they fit together because of continental drift. But him and the exponents of this idea think it's because once over, the Earth was so small that all the continents were together. And then as the Earth expanded, seriously. There's like a mini sun in there, and it's producing mass with pair production. Which, pair production happens, right?
There is
what happens with pair production? Hold up, what happens with pair production?
No,
is it happens in the sun. You get it creates an electron and a positron, right? Right, the normal matter and the antimatter version that are instantly annihilated. Pair production is bollocks. In producing mass because
pair production is not necessarily antimatter and matter production.
That's what I've heard that it is. You might have looked into it more than me, so I'm not going to argue the point. But either way, if there was that kind of object in the center of the Earth, life on the surface would be impossible because it'd be too damn fucking hot.
Well, we do know that there's some kind of energy production Okay.
Yes, that's because you've got a liquid metal fucking core spinning. Solid metal core spinning round inside of a liquid metal core.
We don't know.
Yeah,
all the ins.
Well, that's what.
It is very
Apparently,
possible. Hold on, it's very possible that the central core of the Earth, right, is basically one large amount of radioactive isotopes.
Oh, there's a lot of radiation down there, but it's
Yes.
from what they know. I'm forgetting how they do it. It's something to do with fucking tectonic fucking blasts or something that they do.
But it's also
but
to say that
the
it's
central
just
core, the very
molten.
center.
To say that it's just molten doesn't.
No, it's not just molten. The very center is a solid ball of iron. It's kept solid because of the pressure. Around it, there is molten iron.
Possibly, but once again,
Uh,
the problem with
yeah, because
the problem with all that is
probably
that,
at the center of that ball of iron, there's probably a shit ton of transuranics because
right.
the heavier something is, the lower down is going to sink, right?
That's true.
Yeah, there is energy being produced there, but it's slow. It is slowly cooling. I mean, it's going to take longer than the lifetime of our species for it to eventually cool.
Right.
In fact, it's
And
probably going to take longer than the lifetime of the planet.
It's been cooling for so long that we still don't understand all the dynamics that are involved in that. So
Nimble Horse, you're not far off. I think it's just under 8 miles, but you're not far off, and it was the Russians who did it.
well, the Russians do a lot of things.
No, the Russians actually drilled the deepest hole in the world.
Yeah, I believe that. I do believe that. But it is getting late now. We've been going for quite a while, so I'm just going to go ahead and end the stream. I appreciate you all coming out. Thanks for coming out.
I don't.
Yeah. Hope you all have a good day, and I'll talk to y'all later.
Yeah, go on, sod off. You heard what you